All right. The Champagne Room recap live. I'm here. I'm Alina Isaac. I'm here with Drew from the Champagne Room and Oski Talk and other things. And
Yes, indeed.
Illinois is going to the Final Four. There's
hang on a second. We have a special guest joining the stream. Hang on 1 second. Oh, there he is, baby.
Nice.
There he is.
Got him off the wall. There you go.
Oh, and he's dancing. Look, he's dancing. Oh, yes.
He's feeling good.
Oh, he's feeling great.
He needs to be on campus at the alma mater with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully no one's like breaking any windows or damaging any property.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a very subdued celebration right now in Champaign. Yeah. No one's excited at all.
Because there was no way to get alcohol.
Yes.
After the police statement thing came out.
Yes.
Yeah, Illinois beats Iowa. It was pretty dicey there in the first half. Send us your comments, questions, things. We'll go over them. Illinois pulls it out in the second half, really relies on their size, their offensive rebounding, things that have got them this far in the season. And Drew, I was pretty scared because this game sort of felt like a lot of your close overtime losses had felt, where it was close, it was back and forth. You took a little lead, you lost the lead, and then the other team was able to win it in overtime or late in the game. But you made the winning plays. Again, you really relied on your offensive rebounding. Andre was great late. Keaton was great late. It was you made all the plays you needed to make, and it felt like that was the first game where you were back and forth in a super tight game that you made most of the right plays since that game at Nebraska. So this thing keeps rolling. You're allowed to go out of your house and you don't have to hide from Iowa fans anymore. So
I don't have to hide in a bunker.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's happier than you.
I tell you, man, I know we talked a little bit about it on Thursday, but again, I go into these and I go into the podcast with no advanced knowledge. Like I just assume this is the first time you've heard me, seen me, read my stuff, whatever. Yeah, like as a Quad Cityan, and I'll talk more about this on Oski Talk over the weekend. As a Quad Cityan, born on the Illinois side of the river, bled orange and blue my whole life, but the number of Illinois-born, Illinois-bred people that I know and still know that were Hawkeye fans is just, there's too many to count. And it's just wild to me. Like it means more to me. I know it's a Big Ten rival or whatever, beating any Big Ten team to get here would be great. But for me, and I tweeted this before the game, like right before tip, it was like, for me, someone where I'm from in the state, like Iowa was the team. That was the team you wanted to beat. You wanted to have bragging rights over. That was the rivalry to me. I can't speak for anybody else, but like for me, if you beat Iowa, that's really important. And, my dad, who's since passed away, like hated Iowa. And so I was talking to my mom after the game a little bit, and I was like, well, if Dad hadn't already died, losing to Iowa would have done it for him. That's like he couldn't, and that goes all the way back to like the Bruce Pearl stuff, and like that's secondary to me, but just geographically, that was always the team that was the troll under the bridge. Like, and so for them to have this great run, they had a hell of a tournament too, by the way. Let's not discredit them. Like they had a tremendous run. If we were in that position, if the roles were reversed and Illinois was a 9 seed and did what they had done, we'd be like, well, shit, that sucks that it's over, but what a run. That was really cool, really enjoyable. I think arrows are pointing upward for Iowa. I think they're going to be really good. McCollum's a great coach. We'll talk about some of the particulars a little bit later, I think. But for me, a guy who lives in Iowa, surrounded by black and gold, I was like, I'm not leaving the house. Like, you can go to your friend's house if you want to go. Like, one of my friends owns a bar in town, and he was like, you can hang out here if you want. And I was like, with like 700 Iowa fans of me wearing orange and blue, like, no thanks, I'm good, I'm cool. I'll stay here at the house. And thankfully, I didn't have to worry about never leaving my house. Just slide food under the door for me, all that stuff. Yeah, really satisfying for me. If for nothing else, like I wish I could have called my dad and talked to him about it.
Mm-hmm.
He would have just been over the moon. So yeah, I mean, again, regardless of who Illinois beats, you're in the Final Four. It's awesome. It's terrific. You got to celebrate it. But to have gotten this far and then Iowa is the team that stops you, like, that would have been just brutal.
Yeah, I was nervous all day, and I was telling the people I was with that I was a lot more nervous than Houston, because Houston, it felt like I knew you could hang, but I felt like Houston would win a close one. But it was Houston who a lot of people before the tournament even started, had Houston going to the Final Four, beating Florida.
Sure.
And I mean, a small percentage of people had them, in the national title game, maybe even winning it all. So it's like, well, if you lose a few point game to Houston, like, whatever, that's still a really good season. But the fact that we would have, it's much different. But Drew, to me, it reminds me of football a few years ago when you lost to Michigan State at home and Purdue. Like, that would have sent you to the Big Ten title.
Title, yeah.
But that's what I'm always going to think of about that season. Like, I'm going to think like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. But it's like, you literally let a terrible Michigan State team and then a Purdue team that was very gettable get in the way of you going to Indianapolis for football. And then this would have been like, you literally it wasn't just any 9 seed. It was Iowa. And they were on a heater. They were the darling. All that. Ben McCollum's just been getting, love from everywhere all week. So it would have been an amazing season, and nothing could have been taken away. You beat Houston. You made an Elite Eight. You made it past your seed line projection, and you played your best basketball at the end of the season when you needed to. But there would have always been that, but at the end of that sentence when thinking about this team. And now you get a banner. You've shown in the last 4 games you can whoop teams and blow them out in the second half. You can play a gritty game against Houston, who was like the most tenacious defensive team in the country. And you can make halftime adjustments and slow down a team that Florida wasn't able to slow down. Nebraska wasn't able to slow down for 40 minutes. And you can win any type of way. So, well, it'll be interesting to see if we get UConn or Duke. Off the top of my head, I would rather play UConn. But just the fact we get to, live in this for a whole nother week, and there's going to be a banner that we're just going to see forever. It's just such an elation that I haven't felt in a long time. And the fact that, so I'm 28, so I would have been 6 or 7 roughly when Illinois made the Final Four last time. So those are like my first memory is watching Illinois lose to North Carolina, really, as like an Illinois fan. It was, I vaguely remember that. And I vaguely remember the Illinois-Arizona game 2 games before that. So the fact that I've been an Illinois fan my whole life, and this is, we're a basketball school, right? And like, that's our thing. And this is only the second time in my life we've been back. It's just an unreal feeling. So it kind of like the Houston game a little bit. I'm like in shock. It like doesn't feel real, but it's going to be an awesome week to just soak it all in.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like, sort of like Iowa today. That's a house money get. Like, there's no pressure on Iowa to do anything. Like, they've already far exceeded what was expected of them. Mm-hmm. They're going in loose, relaxed, and you could tell at the start of the game, like, maybe the Illini felt that pressure a little bit. Like, I don't know if that's true, if that's how it actually was, or if it's just they got off to a frustrating start, but you kind of sensed it. Like, this is very pressure packed for them. And Iowa's just like, oh, here comes Sturts. Here's a 3. Here, they just played very relaxed and loose. And we know how much the Illini like to play that way. It's a lot more fun. It'd be a lot more fun if they won that game, 100-75 and made 25 threes. But to your point, when you have Houston, like there wasn't really pressure on Illinois to win that game. No one expected. You're playing 2.4 miles from Houston's campus. So if anybody had a reason to be like, what do you want from us? It would have been Illinois. And they went out and played like the oddest game they've played all season. And then they doubled down and played the oddest game they played all season 2 days later to get to the Final Four. Made 3 threes, 4 threes the whole game. Didn't take all that many. Like it was a very divergent game plan from what they normally do. And for a long time, you were playing into Iowa's hands. It was, I think we talked about the football thing on Thursday. Like Iowa convinces other teams to play to Iowa's strength. And like, we're going to go and play and beat them at their own game. And it never works. Like Iowa wins all these stupid games, like 12-10. You're like, what are you doing? Like what? Yeah. Like just be who you are. Like, why are you letting them do that? Like I always say that on the show, like Iowa football tricks all these teams into playing how they want you to play. And I felt like Iowa did that for a good chunk of this game tonight. Like Iowa wants to be slow. And Illinois is a fairly slow team too, as far as like working the shot clock and things like that. But they were doing exactly what they wanted to do. And Illinois couldn't really get over that hump, especially when they started 9-0 and 12-2. You're like,
that was bad.
Even 3 minutes into the game, you're like, it's going to end like this? Really? Like you're going to get stomped out by Iowa? But they withstood that. They got a little bit of a run going after that. They calmed down. And, honestly, even I was nervous, but in the second half, it's like the way you looked, at least the way I looked at it is, and I saw this on Twitter as well, you played about as badly as you could have possibly played in that first half, and you were down 4. And they mentioned it during the game a lot too. Stan Van and Robbie Hummel did a phenomenal job today. Kevin Harlan's the GOAT.
They're great. Yeah,
they're a terrific troika. Just work really well together. And in between, Stan Van Gundy saying, "Yeah, that's not a foul. That's a really bad foul call," which we can see from a mile away on TV, but the referees can't see. Other than that, they would point out, the rebounding for Illinois and the free throw shooting, getting to the line and getting the rebounds offset what Iowa was doing, because Iowa was making shots, but they weren't rebounding very well and they weren't getting to the line. So it was basically level because of that. And you just had a feeling, at least I did, that if Illinois just has a couple go in, you just see a few of them go in, you make a stop or two, and it's going to change. And it took a while for that to happen, but there was that stretch where they made like 4 stops in a row. I know they made 3 stops in a row because Illinois scored on the 3 trips after that. They scored on all 3 of those. And I think Iowa missed like 2 more trips after that. They were one and done and couldn't get a rebound. And then it just felt like we can breathe a little bit. It's like, this is our game now. We can take it to the finish line. And that's what they did. Yeah, 3 of 17 from 3 is nuts. That they only took 17 threes is pretty wild. We've seen them go 4 for 25 and 4 for 26 and stuff like that, but to only take 17, it was like so antithetical to how they normally play. It was great to see them win that way.
Yeah, it felt like, even though it was sloppy at times, it felt like, okay, thankfully we're not like just doing what Purdue wants us to do and staying back and chucking up threes. Like, we actually did use our size, and that really paid off late. And yeah, there was a stretch in the first half and then even early second half where I'm like, Illinois might figure this out, but Bennett Sturts is just on another level right now. There was a stretch where he hit like, well, they had I think it was Banks maybe hit like a 3 from the top of the key with 0.1 second left.
Yeah, it was like right as the shot clock was going off. Yeah.
And then Sturts did like a few minutes later did the same thing off of like not in rhythm. He was like going from side to side and then he just chucks up a 3 and nails it. And so I think from an outsider perspective, if you were just objectively watching that game, which I think that would have been an awesome game to watch if you were an outside fan, you're like, there was a 20-something lead changes, but
and none in the first half. None in the first half.
If you're an outsider, you're like, man, I don't know if Iowa can keep this up. Like, I feel like in the back of my head, I had that thought, but then also we've had guys go off against us and they stay going off against us, right? But if you were an outsider, you're like, man, Iowa's hitting some weird. There was a stretch there where they were over 50% from 3 at one point. And you were really, I mean, you missed so many layups in the first half.
And Iowa was making really tough shots, like you said. Like we were missing some cheapies, and Iowa was making those contested shots, and it was just like, eventually that's going to even out. You know, they're not going to hit like Houston. We forced them to shoot those 16-footers or whatever. Their guards didn't get a chance to shoot the ball. You know, their guards, their playmakers weren't able to make plays. They were dishing it to the post guys like Sanak and Tugler and those guys who aren't known for their offense. Yeah, it's like, we'll let you take a 17-footer from the elbow all day long. And eventually, like I said, that rebounding advantage finally started to pay dividends. Like Doug said there, they used the size advantage in the second half. And yes, they made adjustments, the in-game adjustments, the elusive in-game adjustments. But even that, like, I don't think Doug's wrong, but I felt like, I don't know if you heard this kind of leading up to the Houston game, but they had Mike DeCourcy on, like Mully and Hall, one of the Chicago, on the score. And DeCourcy was basically talking about the defense, and Illinois' defense all year has basically been like, we're not going to put pressure on you. We're not going to try to take the ball away. We're not going to foul. Like, when you can't put pressure and then not try to foul. Like, you have to just admit that is your strategy. And if these guards get their tough shots, we'll get the rebound. Like, that was, you know, Brant Dolce said on the podcast, get in the way, get the rebound. That's their strategy. The in-game, like, the situational stuff that people always complain about with Underwood, the situational stuff I think needed to be a game. The situation is this game. And they did that against Houston. They had a plan in place of, we're not going to let their guards get shots. Let them take those, you know, bronze medal shots, whatever you want to call them. You know, the 17-footers, you know, let their bigs who can't shoot. And I think you saw that tonight as well. The strategy was like, somebody other than Sturts, like let Sturts do his thing. Like we'll try to rein him in, but let somebody else beat you. It seemed like they were comfortable with letting Sturts do his thing, and then when other guys had to make plays, with few exceptions, you know, that Banks 3 and Sage hit a couple of them, and someone hit one late to cut it to 5 with like a minute to go or something, or 2 minutes to go. Aside from that, a few instances, once Sturts couldn't hit shots, Illinois took over the game.
Yeah, it really felt like, again, from an outsider's perspective, I don't think you would have felt like that was going to continue and that Illinois was the better team. Now, again, there's been stretches like a month or so ago where we saw this team, Illinois was capable of playing, you know, 10 to 12 bad minutes stretches in the second half. But I think another big takeaway from this game, And Underwood has proven this more and more this season. Outside of now, there's absolutely no merit to the narrative he can't win in March. There's really I don't think there's any merit now. And I'll admit, there were times I was a hater about one, can Brad win in March? And also, does he make in-game adjustments because of games like UConn a couple of years ago, where it's like, stop driving it into Klingon, it's not working. But then this season, and especially here in the tournament, you've played your best basketball out of halftime. Like all 4 of these games in the tournament so far, you've slumped like at the end, this middle end of the first half. Now tonight was more at the beginning of the first half, and then you came out by far the better team out of halftime. Like whether that is Brad making a ton of adjustments or Brad firing the guys up, I don't know, but that really any negative narrative around Brad Underwood the last 48 hours just has no merit. And that's cool to see as a fan, because I think for a long time, deep down, I had those questions and thoughts. And now, even from an outsider's perspective, I don't know how you could have any arguments against Brad at this level and taking a team to, deep into March.
Yeah, you can't. Nobody wins in March until they win in March. Like that exists for literally everybody. It took Mike Krzyzewski 11 years to win a national title at Duke. Now, they didn't have social media and all that crap back then. But if he was around now, do you think he would have gotten 11 years at Duke? They'd have been like, oh, man, I don't know. I don't know if he's it. We might need to find a new guy. Like, you can't expect to be really, really good and be a championship contender and then churn through coaches every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, noted blue blood Indiana, is finding that out right now. That they have a standard from stuff that happened 40 years ago, and they've been chasing that ever since, where this isn't how we do things. Well, it's been how you've done things for a long time. Bobby Knight got fired in like 2000. Like, we're going on a quarter century, and this is kind of who you are now. And Illinois was, to your point earlier, they're known as a basketball school. I think they're like 12th all time or something in wins. Like, not national titles and all that, but just in general, like winning basketball games. They're one of the top dozen or so programs of all time. They just don't have the hardware to show for it. And I was talking about this a couple weeks ago, I think as the tournament was starting. Maybe it was at the Sweet 16. I think it was after they'd won the VCU game. And, everyone loves Lou. Lou Henson, named the court after him. Everyone loves Lou. He's the greatest coach of all time. In 20 years, he had 12 NCAA tournament wins. 12. And made the Final Four in 89. 4 of those wins came in one tournament. Bruce Weber has 9 NCAA tournament wins at Illinois. 5 of those came in one tournament. So it's hard. It's really difficult. And it's not an excuse, but it's really hard. And even the elite programs, even Duke lost to Mercer in the first round 1 year, lost to Lehigh as a 2 seed 1 year, lost to VCU 1 year. Like, every team, even the all-time great programs have done this. Didn't Kansas lose to like Vermont or something in the first round like 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Like this stuff happens. It just, you have to be patient. You have to trust that your coaches are going to assemble the talent. They're going to have the right guys. You need a little bit of bracket luck as well. We point this out a lot, but it bears repeating. This is so much different than the regular season. Iowa lost to Penn State like 3 weeks ago.
And Maryland
lost to Penn State, the literal last place team in the Big Ten. Did anybody think they were going to go on a run to the Elite Eight? It's completely different. And then they were one and done
Yeah.
They won the first game in the Big Ten tournament and then got bounced. Look at Illinois losing 5 of 9 to end the year. We're ready to put the burial shroud on the season in the second round because they lost all these games. Imagine if they'd have beaten UCLA or Michigan, like one of those games that they lost in OT. If they beat even 2 of them, let's say they split with Wisconsin and they beat UCLA. This is probably a number 1 seed in the tournament.
Yeah.
And the narrative's completely different because then you lose to a 5 seed or a 9 seed and it's, oh my God, they can't get it done, all this crap. So everything starts over when the tournament begins. Everything starts from scratch. And Iowa's proof positive of that. And like we've said multiple times already, the Illinois team we saw in February, basically after the Nebraska game to the start of the tournament, that month and a half, like you'd have thought this team was like the best team in the country, what we're watching right now.
Yeah.
Like these 2 teams are not the same. Like it's like these guys hatched out of an egg and it's like this, like an alien craft just dropped them off. And now they're like, oh yeah, we got to put this thing in the round thing. Like it's wild how quickly the storyline has changed. And I've been a Brad guy all along. I always joke about firing Brad, but looks like we're stuck with him for a little while now. I'm guessing.
There's definitely worse situations to be stuck in. And just so I won't put you on the spot as much this time, I'll go ahead and give mine. If you want to start thinking about your MVP of the game, because I think at first I was like, oh, it's obvious. And then I thought about it. And then I was looking here at like the plus minus and stuff. I'm going to go with Keaton because of his play in the second half. And because essentially he negated Bennett Sturtz, like overall stat wise. I think they almost had identical stat lines, like 25 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Keaton ended up being a plus 11 in 37 minutes, but he hit free throws late. He had a couple big layups, big passes where he was just making the right play. And I mean, that spin move where he sent that defender into the paint was just filthy. So a lot of guys stepped up. A lot of guys played well. But just from looking at this list, feel free to add on with Keaton or go a different direction.
Okay, first of all, let's look at the bottom of that. Look at Ben Humrickhouse.
I know,
how
crazy.
How bonkers is that you did not score a single point and the Illini were plus 16.
And 4 rebounds, nothing else, but he was a plus 16. He played pretty good defense at times.
He got a bad rap, Humbrickhouse and all that, because he was allegedly a very good shooter at Evansville. He got, battered and fried a lot last year. But he's really reshaped his game as well. Started every game or close to it last year. And has he started any games this year? At least not in the last 2.5 months. He hasn't.
He might have started
maybe
like one
maybe
of those
early,
where like Kylan and Andre were injured or something. Yeah,
like maybe one of those. But that's the everyday guy thing that Brad talks about. Like that's the mentality. It's not about me; it's about we. So that stood out right away. Plus 16 with him on the court. And if you look at the box score, it's like, huh? He didn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, Wagler is the easy choice, and you're not wrong for saying that. I mean, he was great. I think it's his highest point total since they said it was obviously the Purdue game was like February 4th or something, whatever that was. I forget what game that was, what day that was. That was in January. It's like his highest point total in almost 2 months for Wagler. And he's been so good. Like, he gets like 15, 16, 17, but 25 is the most he'd had in I think it was February 5th or something like that. To me, it's Andre. It's Stojakovic for me. He is the guy that he's so good at driving and going downhill and being assertive and aggressive. Like that's what Illinois needed to come back in that game early. Like Iowa wasn't going to win that game in the first 3 minutes, nor was Illinois. But you go down 10, 12 that early, it sets a tone. And you need to punch back. And Andre has been that for much of the year. He's been the guy attacking the rack and getting those tough contested twos. For some reason, he gets foul calls when he does it, but Wagler can't when he does it. I still don't understand. And Sturtz gets the star whistle too. We saw that like 6 different times tonight. And Wagler just, I don't know. Maybe he's just too soft-spoken. Maybe he just has to get pissed and start yelling and flailing his arms. I don't know. Like maybe he has to start changing that. But yeah, to me, it's Andre because he started it. He started the comeback early when Illinois needed to get steadied. He was there. And then, late in the game as well, he was making those drives and cutting to the basket. Again, Wagler was fantastic. It was great to see him finally look like that lottery pick again. Mm-hmm. He'd had some good games, had the double-double against Houston, but 4 of 14, like offensively, he wasn't great. But that combination of Wagler and Stojakovic tonight was stellar. Really, really good.
Yeah, Andre honestly might be the quiet MVP of the tournament because it feels like so far all 4 games when you go to a little offensive lull and then it's like, oh, here comes Andre for like 8 straight points or like 8 out of 10 points and really teams that don't have a ton of athletes like a Michigan, like Arizona, I'm watching them beat Purdue right now. They really have a hard time keeping Andre in front of them. Like we've seen it when we played the better teams with athletes. Like I know we struggled against Michigan State as well. Like those teams that do have the athletes and the speed, but teams like Iowa, which even against Houston, they had the dudes and he played pretty well too, but he's in his zone right now. He's playing the best he's played for us probably since like that Texas Tech game or a couple of those 30-point games against lower level teams. But he just really, when he wants to get downhill right now, he's able to do it. And that's been a huge X factor because there were stretches of this season when Andre wasn't showing up and we also weren't shooting the ball well, or like when we went on, that cold streak where we lost some of those games down the stretch. I think if Andre was playing like he is now back then, I think you easily win 2 or 3 more of those games.
And look at that 3-point column.
Yeah, I know 3 of 17.
But look at the row for Andre.
Yeah.
0 attempts from 3.
Thankfully, he didn't shoot any.
And thankfully, Boswell took 1 early, got it out of his system. He bricked it and then never took 1 again. Thank God, because he's like 25% this year. Yeah. But Andre, who's very clearly not his dad, even though they pan to him every time he takes a shot, it was all in the paint. It was all at the rim. And that's been kind of the missing piece. We know Illinois likes to live on the wing and shoot a lot of perimeter shots. And they've really shifted their focus to let's go downhill. Let's drive. We're really good at getting to the line. You can't get to the line if you're shooting 45 threes a game or 40 or 35. You generally just can't. So you've got to just be more judicious with the shots. And I'm not a mathematician, but 25 of 53 and 17 of those shots were threes. So you took 36 twos and made 22 of them. It felt like they missed 22 of them.
Yeah.
Couldn't make a freaking layup until they started making the layups. They finally got those stick backs and once they got the rebounds, they finally were able to put the ball in the hoop from inside, but they missed so many layups. And against Houston too, they missed a ton. But I'm an offensive guy. I love filling it up. I would love for them to score 100 in this game, but they stuck to what was working, which we don't often see. They didn't have the 12-point lead for them to start jacking up threes again like they tend to do. So they're like, we got to chip back into this thing. So let's do that. And again, it was great. I thought The shot selection was pretty good. Mirkovic only took us 1-3. I would have liked to see more Jake in this game, but again, that crew was working pretty well. So, he's not going to go in there to get the tough twos and the lay-ins. He's going to be out there to shoot threes. So, weird to have him get 1 point and play 13 minutes, but it worked. Z had another hammer dunk on a lob.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he makes the most of those minutes more than any player I've ever seen. Morez did that a lot last year. You'd put him in for 12 minutes and it's like, oh, he had 3 dunks and 7 rebounds. You're like, what?
Yeah.
But Big Z is but if you played Big Z 30 minutes, he's not going to do those things. That was that's kind of how it was with Morez. It's like, you can't play him 30 minutes because he's going to foul out and he's not going to get, 20 stick back dunk chances. So yeah, it's always fun to see Z get in there and maximize his opportunities, even though Tommy was pretty good today, fouled out, but
yeah,
kind of a quiet 13 for him, but he had a couple of layups or, shots in close in that second half as well that helped spearhead that rally too. So everybody, like you said earlier, the Houston win was a team win. This was a team win. No, you don't need 5 guys to pop off against Penn. 1 or 2 guys having a good game is going to be fine. Even VCU, that was a pretty balanced attack, but games against Houston, games against Iowa power conference teams and or teams you've seen a lot already, you need the whole cast to chip in. And we've seen that in the Sweet 16 game and then tonight.
So I want to dwell on this, obviously, and dwell in this win. Looking ahead next Saturday, Duke and UConn, both are obviously great teams. I mean, it's the Final Four, right? They're literally most years. A lot of times it's, combination of a couple 2 seeds or
that should be a national championship game.
Yeah.
And they're playing in the Elite Eight. Like Illinois, Houston, that's like a Final Four type of matchup. And you got that in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So
I would say, honestly, 3 out of your 4 games so far, you've had a very favorable opponent. Like Houston, I think was the toughest 2 seed probably, and you beat them.
Yeah.
Obviously, getting Iowa, they were by far the worst team left in this tournament, and they still were playing great. They weren't playing like a 10 team. But if you would have looked at all the other options, you definitely would have chosen Iowa. And now, I'm not scoffing by any means at Duke and UConn. Obviously, UConn whooped you earlier this year. It really wasn't as close as it even the final score ended up being. But I would much rather play Duke or UConn than play Michigan or Arizona. So I think both teams are going to be tough. I personally would rather play UConn. I don't like the matchup with Boozer, and Duke seems like they got Caleb Foster back. They look really good in the second, the last 10 minutes against St. John's. I don't like the way you match up with them. UConn has really been kind of struggling and failing through some of these games. They still are great, but I mean, they easily could have blown that game to Michigan State. And again, you get to this point, and these are the top 4, 5, 6 best teams in the country. So they're going to be amazing. I think Michigan and Arizona are clearly 1 and 2 in the tournament. So I would much rather have Duke and UConn. And if I have to pick tomorrow, I'm going to be rooting for UConn, get a little rematch on them.
Yeah, I have kind of waffled on that. I know in our Discord channel at the Champagne Room, they were talking about who you got and, are you picking based on who you think is going to win, or are you picking it based on what you think the optimal matchup is going to be for Illinois? I'm not the rah-rah Big Ten guy. I don't want to see Purdue there. I don't want to see Michigan there. I didn't want to see Michigan State there. To hell with them. It was cool that we had 4 teams in the Elite Eight. That's fine. I personally will take a lot of joy in the idea of Illinois getting farther than both Michigan and Purdue. I would love that personally because Michigan fans think they're the greatest things in sliced bread, and Purdue thinks that they've won 25 national championships, and they've had a worse March record than Illinois has had, except for getting to the title game 2 years ago. Like, yeah, you've lost to every seed under Matt Painter, except for one. I think they have not lost to a 12, but they've lost to everybody else.
They're down 9 right now. Again, Arizona's a different beast, but it doesn't look like they're getting back.
Going back to Illinois' opponent, I think that, I think the fan base would really like to see us beat Duke just in general. I think I don't have the same animosity against Duke that, maybe other fans do, but yeah, UConn wasn't 25-6 or something. They were up 19 at one point in that game.
Michigan State. I think it even it was 19 for a big stretch. And then Tommy hit like some late shots, and I think you brought it to within maybe 10 or 11 with a few minutes left. And then
no, I'm talking about the other night when UConn played Michigan State. I think they were up by 19 at some point.
Oh yeah, it was 25-6 in 5 or 6 minutes. Yeah.
And then they gave up that lead. Michigan State tied it up and had a shot to win it. I mean, it looked like it was, the old Illinois, right? No lead is ever safe. I mean, I think that kind of makes you feel good, but at the same time, UConn was hitting shots finally at the end of the game. Like when they needed to get a bucket, they hit one. So maybe they woke something up a little bit because they weren't super impressive in their first game. Furman pushed them. Obviously won in the second round pretty comfortably. But yeah, I guess if I had to choose, I would say UConn. They ride Caravan and Terrace Reed a lot. And they've got Burries, however you say his name. He's going to be a first-round pick probably in the draft as well. He's lights out from 3. But really it's Caravan and Reed. And, the Terrace Reed thing kind of scares me. I know Illinois is bigger than they were when they played UConn 2 years ago. But Reed's had a hell of a run in this tournament as well. He had 30 and 27 in the Furman game, like some just stupid stat line. So I guess there's probably not a good matchup for Illinois, but I think, UConn's probably, of the 2 games, that's the more winnable of the 2 games. And not for nothing, you're going to see that Duke whistle on full display. So you got to outplay Duke by about 20 to win by 3, probably. I saw a really funny tweet about that Duke UConn game. Like, oh, what's Danny Hurley going to do when he sees the Duke whistle in person for the first time? Like, he's going to be just apoplectic. He's going to lose his mind. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. If it's another ref show like we saw today, if Duke's getting all these calls, Danny Hurley might commit a felony. He might literally kill somebody tomorrow night.
Now there really is there's nothing to be negative about after you make the Final Four. So that is by no means what I'm trying to get at. I do think one thing that you will have to get, ideally you won't shoot that poor from 3 next game. And
they won't.
You've been able to, and you shot better from the free throw line tonight, which was huge because that really could have made things interesting late. I think this team is at their best when Kylan is playing really well defensively and is attacking the rim and not settling for threes. And the last Houston game and tonight were not Kylan's best games. 26 minutes, 2 points. And those were both free throws. And felt
only 2 rebounds and only 2 assists. He had a couple of steals, but
he was getting really, I think he was getting rattled on the defensive end too. And I'm not trying to dog on Kylan whatsoever. It's just, I think you're going to need senior leaders. Like the bigger the game gets, the bigger the stage gets. I think you're going to need more consistency from from guys like Kylan. And luckily, like Andre stepped up and other guys have stepped up, but that's one miss. And I hope Kylan, goes out on a high note because he's been such an impactful player. And I mean, just being from Champaign is its own cool storyline. So did you have anything tonight that was like your biggest concern or like something that's going to stick in your head? Again, there's nothing negative that you can really be after tonight, but if there's one thing you had to pick that you're like, that was a bummer from the game, what would you say?
I think it is Boswell. Is that he had a pretty rough night against Houston as well. Now, maybe that's to be expected because Houston's a tremendous defensive team.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Sturts was kind of having his way with Kylan for a little bit there. It's like anyone who's quick and knows how to dribble around stuff, Kylan is like, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I agree. You need a guy like him. If you go down the list, like Mirkovic is a freshman, Wagler's a freshman, Stojakovic had never played in the NCAA tournament before until this year. Ivisic had, with Kentucky and Arkansas, a little bit. Tommy obviously was with us last year, played in 2 games. Davis played in 2 games. The core of this team doesn't really have that postseason experience, but Kylan does. Like you played 4 years in college and went to 4 tournaments. Like that's not super common these days with the transfers and NIL and guys moving all the time. He played in 4 NCAA tournament games, and this is obviously the deepest run by far. But yeah, like you want to lean on those veteran guys. And I'm glad he's not taking too many shots. He let Keaton man the controls for a good part of the game tonight. And I think that was good. He's smart enough to know this guy is doing well. Like, let's just let him. They trust Keaton. So they're going to let him run the thing. And I thought that was the right thing to do. But yeah, I'd say he doesn't have to go for 25. But
Yeah.
I said this when he came back. I think he had 9 and 7 the first game he came back from the hand injury. And it was like, if you can get something like that, like 8 and 5, 9 and 7, 10 and 6, like something in that neighborhood, that's really, really going to help Illinois. So, we got to figure out, the coaching staff and Kylan have to kind of figure out what to do. Now you're going to have a week off. Maybe you're just beat up because you got chewed up and spit out by Houston. Maybe that was part of it. And Iowa's a really good defensive team, and they make things difficult for you. They harass you. But yeah, to me, it's Boswell. He's had a really poor 2 games in that region. He was obviously better in those first 2 games, but against Penn, I think you and I hit a 3 against Penn. So
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter, but got to step up. He needs to step up again. Doesn't have to do a ton. He doesn't have to be the best player on the floor, but if he can get you 8 to 10 points, like 3 or 4 rebounds, 3 or 4 assists, that's going to go a long way.
So, Drew, what do you need to see? Obviously, this season is way exceeded expectations I think you knew that this team had the possibility of winning a final or making a Final Four when we saw them mid-season. Yeah. But I would have taken, I think at the minimum, I wanted a second weekend considering how good we saw them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think for me now, everything's house money, obviously. I just would like a competitive game against Duke or UConn. Like, make it close, get it to the final, under 4, under 8. And this season we'll just always remember the Houston game and then tonight and getting to go to Indianapolis, which I was looking at tickets. They're stupid expensive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
good luck.
I guess, what do you want to see as this team goes out? And maybe it's obvious that basically just make it competitive, but what do you want to see for this team next Saturday?
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at too. Again, it's the Final Four. Nothing's really going to ruin it for me.
Mm-mm.
Now, if it's like a 2005 scenario where, Keaton Wagor gets fouled out in 7 minutes, he's not allowed to touch the ball like that. If it's some bullshit like that, I'll get mad. But I think that's it. You want to live up to that billing, right? Like it's the Final Four. Like these are the 4 best teams, or what? It's you know what I mean. You want it to reflect that performance. So, if they win I don't think they're going to blow either team out. That would shock me. If it's like, oh, Illinois won by 17, I'd be like, what the hell? But yeah, I just want to see it be like a competitive game, like perform at a representative level. Brant Dolce on the podcast with me likes to say that if they play at a representative level, then that's what you want. If they go out and just get trucked by 25, it's going to be like, it's going to be a little disappointing. But at this point, to me, I don't think anyone really thought we were going to get to this point now. Second weekend, sure. Maybe you could win a game. Like getting to the Final Four is bananas, and people have said it for a couple of years. Like this team could be in the Final Four. Like, did you really think that KJ team was going to get to the Final Four? No. Like they had really talented individual players, but that team just didn't have it. Like they were disjointed all year. This team seems to just absolutely love each other. They love being around each other. They love working with each other. That doesn't mean you're going to win games, but it seems like that has...
It's a nice perk.
Manifest. Sure. Yes, it's a nice perk. The 23 team that lost to Arkansas in the first round, that team did not gel well together. Nope. That team did not get along well together. There was a lot of drama internally and externally that led to that team cracking and crumbling away. And then, the TSJ team 2 years ago when they got to the Elite Eight, I thought if there was ever a team to get to the Final Four or win a natty, that was going to be the team. And then they got steamrolled by UConn, which is fine. They steamrolled everybody. People want to point out that 30-0 run. It's like, okay, but
yeah, I mean,
but they killed everybody. It wasn't like they won every game by 2 and then beat Illinois by 25. Like they killed everybody. No. Then this past season, they're a tournament team. There was too much talent to not be a tournament team. But you didn't really get a sense of they were going to go on a tear and win a bunch of games. This team was 20-3 at one point. And we were like, are they the best team in the Big Ten? Like they were I think they were number 5 in the country at their peak, 20-3. And they lost 5 of 9 to end the year. And we were like, oh, well, that was fun for a little while. I guess we're going to go back to losing in the second round. Like everyone the air came out of the balloon so quickly. Like we were so quick, not me, but many of the fans were so quick to just give up and be like, oh, well, same old stuff. Brad can't do this. Brad can't do that. Yeah. They're not going to figure it out. They always fade against bat. Like you name it, whatever the trope was, you saw it, you read it, you heard it. This team looks like they really enjoy playing for each other and with each other. And I can't say UConn does or doesn't, or Duke does or doesn't, but Duke's got 2 or 3 NBA guys on their team. UConn's got 2 or 3 NBA guys on their team. UConn seems more like Illinois in the sense of they understand the assignment. They have the common goal and they go after it together. Like it seems like they get that. Duke for the last couple of years has just been a bunch of mercenaries, going after it, and a bunch of one and done guys trying to win a title. Not that that's bad, but I don't get that sense from those teams that are from Duke, at least, that they like really love and care for each other. Like these guys, this Illinois group seems to have a really tight bond. And that's one of the things that I will enjoy most about this season, whenever it ends, whether it's Saturday night, Monday night, is that they've been a really fun and enjoyable team to watch. That's not always the case. There's other teams in years past that had gotten to the tournament. It was like you were kind of glad it was over because of all the other BS that was going on. This is like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe they're doing this. This is great. So I don't know if I answered the question, but I think, if you can string this together and have like a really competitive game, that's all you can really hope for. If they win, great. If not, it's been a hell of a run.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute blast. And it really is great having that house money feel, whereas tonight it didn't. And yeah, like you were saying, you played UConn a few years ago, and that team you felt like had a great chance to Final Four and maybe even farther because he had a guy like Terrence Shannon who was on a generational run. That just proves how the draw of the tournament plays such a big piece, because
yes,
UConn was by far the best team that year, and you just happened to get unlucky. And I mean, you finished the season great. It wasn't like you fell down the stretch so you got a worse seed and got stuck with UConn.
They won the Big Ten tournament and had a great. They were Illinois was as hot as any team in the country entering that tournament 2 years ago.
If we would have won a few more games down the stretch, odds are we would be playing in this game against Arizona right now, and I bet we wouldn't be winning. We would have odds are we would have been the 2 seed in St. Louis. Like, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a world where we got the best draw of like any 2 seed, 3 seed besides, a 1. That's just a crazy thought.
And again, that should be the takeaway from people. Not, this team lost or this team failed somehow. Like, it depends on who you're at, where you're at, who you're playing. I brought up the 2021 tournament. When Illinois was the 1 seed and lost to that team that we'll talk about. Houston got to the Final Four in 2021 and did not play a single-digit seed. In the whole regional. They beat a 15, a 10, a 12, a 15, a 10, an 11, and a 12. And that 12 seed Oregon State beat Loyola to get to the Sweet 16. Or to, whatever. Get to the Elite Eight. They played in a regional final against Houston as a 12 seed. Like, if Illinois beats Loyola and everything else happens the way it happened, Illinois is a 1. They're playing a 2 seed Houston for a shot to go to the Final Four. And we're not talking about any of this other crap. They could lose in the first round 5 years in a row, and no one's going to say boo because they got to the Elite Eight with Io and Kofi. So that's, I think, what people need to understand. And it's like they never seem to get it. It's like, this team didn't do something. Well, Iowa beat a number 1 seed. So I'd rather have played Iowa than Florida, even though Iowa was a hell of a game. Florida is huge. They don't have as good of a guard tandem as Illinois does, but like, I think that would have been a terrible matchup for Illinois.
Yeah.
So you play it as it lies, to steal the golf reference. You can only play who's in front of you. You get a week to prep for that first game or 4 days or whatever. And then you have like a day to study for the next opponent. Now, luckily you played Iowa today. You know them pretty well, but like, winning is really hard. Winning in this tournament is very hard. Like, Coach K and Rick Pitino, and like, those are the outliers. That's not the norm. Like, to win, Izzo to get to 20 Sweet 16s or whatever it is, like, that's really freaking hard to do. So when you get to this point, an Elite Eight, a Final Four, you really got to embrace it and just enjoy it. And yes, we did get robbed in 2005. Thank you for pointing that out. Absolutely did. I think I just heard James Augustine get called for another foul, actually, now that you said that.
Yeah, let's hope for not another repeat of that in the next two games. But yeah, I'm gonna be on cloud nine all week. It's an amazing feeling that we're one of four teams now, one of four fan bases that get to sit and enjoy this week and wear our orange and blue proudly. And I can't wait. I gotta try to make it down whenever they get that Final Four banner, and hopefully another banner. But whenever they get that,
I'm sorry. I just had to bring it out one more time before we go for the night. I just had to bring it out.
We go.
For those that might join the stream late, I have a friend with me in my office, and he's very excited. He's very excited for a Final Four trip. So we gotta find a way to get to that banner game or something. I love Indy. Unfortunately, my other obligations will not allow me to be in Indy. I went to school in Indy. They do great big spectator events incredibly well. So if you are inclined to go to Indianapolis to see our beloved orange and blue play in the Final Four, I highly recommend you do that. It's going to cost you a pretty penny to get tickets to the game, but lots of hotels, lots of restaurants, lots of nightlife close by. It's a great place. Lucas Oil isn't like smack dab in the middle of downtown. It's close. I mean, it's fine. But everything is very accessible. It's very walkable, and it's only like 2 hours or so from Champaign. So if you're in the Champaign area, if you're in that portion of the state, or even if you're in like the Chicago area, if you can get down there, even just to like find a bar stool somewhere, it's going to be great. I'm sure there's an Illinois alumni club in Indy somewhere. So the Chief and I are very excited. This is 21 years in the making. The last Final Four team is now old enough to drink. Or last Final Four season is now old enough to drink.
They can't get any alcohol
but not at CAMs. Not on campus. They can't drink on campus, but whatever.
Quick, just a couple questions. Mark said, is Tommy not healthy? No, he was healthy. He played. He just fouled out at the end.
He fouled out tonight.
He played. Tommy played a great game. He really, finally, it's feeling like Tommy's using his size, like he's remembering he's 7 foot.
Going inside.
Yeah.
High percentage shots.
Getting offensive rebounds.
Let him take a couple of threes. It's fine. But yeah, he should be in the paint.
Tucker had a question. Any idea when they'll be back from Indy? These are great questions. I assume they'll be back.
I would assume tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm sure I would check like the DIA website or like their pages. I'm sure they'll be posting about it because I'm sure there'll be a party.
I'm sure it'll be on fightingillini.com or it'll be on Twitter somewhere. Like they'll post it. But my guess is they're gonna. I mean, they might even do it tonight, but probably tomorrow they'll fly home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a charter. You could get there in an hour and a half on a private jet, probably from Houston. But my guess would be they'd get in sometime tomorrow. And then I would just bus it to Indy, wouldn't you? I wouldn't even bother flying. It's like 2 hours.
I forget what it is. I think the NCAA, they pay for like a charter flight if it's over a certain distance. But I think since it's within a few hundred miles, they pay for a bus instead. So I think Illinois will bus. Yeah,
they should.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks. We had 40, 50 some odd people here at one time and a lot of others joining at random times. So thanks for all who joined in. And one of the happier Facebook Lives we're going to do, I'm sure there's not many things you can do to top this. So yeah, we got the Chief joining us and Drew, thanks for joining. I'm Illini Isaac, and stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of content coming this week at the Champaign Room and ILL.
Yes. Yeah. We'll have a Oski Talk podcast either tomorrow night or Monday. Got a lot of time now to prep for the show. We got a week before the next game. So be listening for that probably, if not Sunday night, probably Monday evening. wherever you get your fine podcasts. Make sure you check that out. And a lot to talk about. It's going to be a lot of fun. ILL.
Yes, I. It's going to be an awesome week to soak it all in. So thanks, y'all. Talk to you later.